Hey, my name is Brandon. I'm the brand ambassador here at Lair Origin Nutrition, and we're going to take a deep dive into two things. First, my history, where I came from, my gut health journey, and where I stand today. And of course, in relation to human milk oligosaccharides. So these special long chain sugars found in human breast milk that we do synthesize now and are able to feed the gut correctly. So, I'll be talking about the SuperHMO prebiotic mixture, which actually contains 5 strains of human milk. And to that extent, we need to kind of look at the difference between what a single strain HMO prebiotic mixture can do of, say, just 2-fucosyl-lactose, so the OG. This is the most researched and effective strain to date. And don't get me wrong, there are hundreds of different strains of human milk oligosaccharides that do exist. But within the research, we are going for the ones that we know are proven to be able to heal the guts immensely. And for this reason, we are going with 5 of them in general. So before we dive into that and go into a bit more detail on that in general, I've been using HMOs for about 3 years now. And at first, it started with baby formula. I was ordering tubs of Gerber's and just to get a little bit of 2FL. And unfortunately, the product is not good. And, in terms of the actual ingredients they use, there's a lot of processing involved. But overall, it ended up being a net positive. I ended up seeing some really good results in terms of digestion overall, just by adding that to a simple protein shake to break a fast in the morning. That quickly evolved to one of the only companies that is doing it now, Lair Origin, which is the strain 2-fucosyl-lactose by itself. So we can kind of add that to whatever we're drinking in the morning, whether it's coffee, tea, a smoothie, protein shake, or just take the actual capsule itself. And ultimately, from here, this really revolutionized everything I kind of knew about nutrition. And it wasn't until that point where I started to realize I've had kind of everything backwards. I was demonizing a lot of the food. I was seeing a lot of issues with what I was eating and kind of identifying things in different subcategories of what I should not eat and what I shouldn't eat. And those could be healthy foods as well. Maybe I wasn't eating any fruit, no carbohydrates at all, as I was doing a more kind of strict keto because any fiber I consumed would really start to throw off the balance of my body and the gut. I would gain weight immediately when eating carbohydrates, which is a very important question to ask yourself is what happens after you eat carbs? How do you feel? Do you see weight gain? Do you see bloating? These are all going to be windows into the microbiome to see what we have to correct. These are all very, very important questions to ask yourself. And at the time, I did not know. I just followed various gurus across the web and read various books and listened to various podcasts and dived into different research papers that really reinforced that way of thinking, that perhaps keto was the answer. And when it didn't work, fasting was the answer. And when that didn't work, it was FODMAP. Okay, and these, I think a big confusion was to see these as diets and long-term ways of living. And let me just say that any extreme we push our body to one end will come back the other way. Anything sustained long term will start to have negative consequences as we continue further down the path. And there's a lot of good research to support that, no matter what fad diet it may be. But the number one thing here is that we're not getting to the root cause. We're not actually getting down to what's really true about the microbiome and about the body in general. These were merely just band-aid solutions. But again, we are seasonal eaters. These are protocols and things that can help us in the short term. So please do not get me wrong on that. But I went through a very long path in terms of really trying to figure out what it was to really heal my gut. So ultimately at this point, in about 2020, I was really heavily into FODMAP. So I was eliminating a ton of different fermentable sugars to really start to spin down some inflammation in the gut and to really start to, tone down those symptoms I was experiencing. And it did work, but it did not get to the root cause, did not fix anything for myself personally. Unfortunately, it just made me struggle more psychologically. I felt more trapped. I felt kind of scared to go on, in a sense, if this is what eating was going to be like, where I could not enjoy a meal with family or friends without thinking about how many almonds is that, or what's in that, is what's the macronutrient ratio of this, and these things were all just little boxes within the subconscious to elicit different forms of control that I didn't have. And what actually gave me control of being able to digest whatever it may be was HMOs. So, given that with my experience, as soon as I introduced it, I started to notice just much better digestion right off the bat. Bowel movements became more frequent. Energy levels immediately skyrocketed. And this was in about 3 days in, I say. So at first, there was a little bit of bloating, and that is to be expected. This is a good sign typically. We don't want it too intense. So if you have intense bloating, we want to scale back the portions just a little bit and slowly work your way up over the weeks to come. So there's no rush. We want to go slow and introduce new things to train our bacteria like a muscle. And HMOs are a fantastic way to do so. So at this time, using 2-fucosyl-lactose, it helped tremendously. I was feeling great. I was being able to digest, say, chickpeas and raw broccoli and cauliflower and just actual raw garlic and onions again without being bloated like a balloon. Skin was healing up, constipation went away, and ultimately it gave me this great sense of hope, which was extremely important for my mindset at the time. And this is the main reason why I am talking about this now and recording this video, is to help someone else who has perhaps gone through everything, who has tried quote unquote everything, but not the HMOs yet. So after using 2FL, so the original prebiotic strain, for about 2 to 3 years, I just got introduced to the 5-strain HMO from their origin, and I just finished it. This was first time using it, and I must say that I had great results. Period. I started to it kind of almost pushed me past any plateau that I may experienced over the years. And this isn't something, mind you, I take every single day. I do cycle it on and off. I'll typically take a month off in between dosing a full bottle again. And ideally, this has been working for me. And it's up to you, of course, to experiment for yourself, to dive into these things a bit slower, easier way in, and see how your body responds. But the key here is to introduce 5 strains, right? To be able to see how these things work very synergistically and all have their own very unique functions within the gut, right? As we know, 2FL is very, very powerful at feeding one of our master strains of bifidobacteria, which is Bifidobacteria longum. This can be known as well as the strain of longevity and the strain of lean body mass. Really, really helps keep us lean. It really, really helps the gut just heal from the inside out. And again, this is getting to the fact that these are prebiotics. And these are prebiotic nutraceuticals, which means they can travel down into the colon where the bulk of our microbiome exists, about 70% of it, and it is able to travel down undigested, untouched, to be able to ferment and feed the resident bacteria. So again, this is a very, very fantastic first start into it, as HMOs are truly the origin story of the microbiome, right? So we're starting to see where it all began. It started in the stages of infancy, and we are able to utilize these same things now as an adult in supplement form, and really to get us past a lot of junk that we have consumed over the years, or maybe just unfortunately have had experiences with IBS or IBD, and we're trying to bring things back the other way now. We're trying to have this pendulum swing right back to the other side, to a point where we can feel at peace, at equilibrium, and to feel like we can digest whatever it is without being concerned, to get rid of that kind of PTSD, for lack of a better term, post meal, right? So we don't have to think twice about it if we're digesting anything that was a trigger food before. So realistically, where do we go from here? Okay, so we have in the mixture here, which I'll show you, it's the SuperHMO prebiotic mix. Okay, and this one actually contains, which I'll show up on the video as well, 5 different strains. So within these 5 strains, of course, we get the dose of 2-fucosyl-lactose. We also get 3 and 6 sialactose, which have been shown in the research to support just massively our brain health, to really, really get rid of brain fog, to help with cognition, to help with focus, and to really help prevent neurodegenerative diseases. Okay, so that is a fantastic piece, which I personally would consider more of a nootropic. It has really helped me just kind of stay focused, stay motivated, and actually, not be succumbed to different brain fog. And of course, like I said, there is no panacea. There is no one thing to really help cure us all. This also goes hand in hand with the food we are consuming. Staying away from processed sugars and refined deep fried oils can be the 2 biggest pieces in our health that we really need to actually take part in. Aside from that, we have 2 other strains to complete the 5, LNT and LNNT. So this is lactotetrose and lactoneotetrose. So within these, again, they all work very, very synergistically to be able to help us get to that root cause for once. And I promise you it is very, very effective. I've not only seen that with clients of mine, but I've seen that with countless individuals. And I'm sure you can be one of those as well if you give this a shot. So again, I speak very highly of this, and it is not coming from any place inside of me other than love. And I really, really mean that, because it has helped me really get out of a bad place mentally in terms of the way I saw food. And to be able to see food now as nourishment and not to be scared of digesting anything that may cause flare-ups or IBS is to know that I do have kind of an ace in the hole. And this is something that is going to continue to help me feed good bacteria to come. It helps kill off bad bacteria in the process and really, really helps strengthen our immunity and immune system. There's many ways in which we can kind of dive into that and really kind of show exactly what the research is leading us to. And hopefully we can save that for a future video to come. But in the meantime, definitely recommend the 5 HMO prebiotic mixture. If you've never taken HMOs, try it out. I'd honestly recommend starting with the capsule form of just 2FL, the 2-fucosyl-lactose, and build yourself up to the 5 strains. And you'll start to notice much better results, especially in conjunction with reds and apple peels and a very, very healthy diet as well, which is coming from lots of resistant starch, lots of beans, legumes, lots of plants, green vegetables, dark fruits, and good quality meats. We are here to seek balance. Everything plays its role. We are seasonal eaters, and it is all part of the game. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and definitely feel free to reach out, ask any questions. Again, you can find me at the Nutritional Paradigm on Instagram or nutritionalparadigm.com, and of course through Lair Origin as well in the comment section below. So thank you for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed.